You have lived your whole life inside a room you believed was the world. You've arranged its furniture, painted its walls, and stared at its ceiling, thinking that was the sky. But behind the wallpaper of thought, behind the noise of memory and emotion, there is a door, and always there, always open, yet almost never seen. Your mind has been a portal this whole time, not a metaphorical one, a real one, a living interface between what is seen and what cannot be seen, between the infinite and the finite. You've used it to think, to remember, to suffer, to desire, but rarely, if ever, have you used it to travel. Because you were never taught that the mind isn't supposed to be a cage, it's supposed to be a bridge. And every thought you have ever had, every fear you've ever named, every dream you've ever touched, was the whisper of that hidden doorway trying to tell you there is more. Part 1. The Illusion of the Surface. You were born into noise. From your first breath, the mind began translating the world into symbols, light into language, experience into identity. And soon you learned to call that collection of symbols yourself. But the surface of the mind, the part that thinks, worries, and plans, is not the mind. It's just the shadow of its movement, like ripples on the surface of a deep ocean. You were taught to stare at the ripples, to analyze them, to build your life around them, while forgetting the depth that gives them birth. You have mistaken thought for awareness and emotion for being. You have called the echo the original sound, and that is how the portal became invisible. The mind, when used as a mirror for memory, collapses inward. It begins to chase its own tail, to mistake reflection for reality. And in that looping motion, the infinite becomes small. A hallway of repeated ideas, recycled fears, predictable patterns. You call this me, you call this normal. But it is only the surface. The surface is safe because it is known. The depths are terrifying because they dissolve the known. And so for lifetimes, humanity has lived at the surface, worshiping the small self, forgetting that beneath the noise lies an ocean without name. Part 2. The Architecture of the Portal. The mind is not a container, it is a field. It doesn't live inside your skull. Your skull lives inside it. Consciousness is not a product of the brain. The brain is a pattern within consciousness. This field, what you call mind, is a portal between the infinite silence of being and the dense fabric of form. Thoughts are its translations, messages sent between worlds. Every image that appears inside your awareness is the afterglow of that transmission. But the portal is not passive, it responds to direction. When you focus on fear, it opens toward chaos. When you focus on love, it opens toward unity. When you surrender to stillness, it opens toward infinity. Imagine a prism. Light enters as pure white, then divides into 1,000 colors. Your mind is that prism. Pure awareness enters, and what emerges is the world, fragmented, colored by perception, bent by belief. You do not see things as they are. You see them as your portal filters them. Every belief is a gatekeeper, every attachment, a lens, every story, a distortion field. And until you learn to still the prism, the light will always bend, and the infinite will appear as limited. This is how you have been using the portal wrong. You have been sending your awareness outward, trying to find the infinite in the finite, trying to complete yourself with fragments. But the portal was designed for return, for inward travel, not escape. Part 3. The Misuse of the Portal. When awareness forgets its source, it begins to consume itself. You start to believe that thoughts are truth, that emotions are identity, that the noise is the signal, and so the portal becomes inverted. The energy meant to expand begins to contract. You have been taught to use your mind to chase, to grasp, to label, to divide. You've been taught that control equals safety. You've built walls out of words, hoping they would protect you from the unknown. But those walls only keep the infinite out. Each label you cling to, success, failure, good, bad, me, them, is a stone in the wall. And the more defined your wall becomes, the smaller your world becomes. When you misuse the portal, it doesn't close, it folds. It starts looping awareness back on itself, trapping you in reflections of your own fear. This is what suffering is. Awareness caught in its own echo chamber. You think you're escaping pain by thinking your way out of it, but you're only reinforcing the illusion. You're trying to use the mirror to escape the mirror. The great error of humanity has been to use the mind as a tool for control rather than communion. We have built empires of intellect, towers of technology, yet we remain lost in ourselves, more connected than ever, but deeply disconnected from being. Because the mind is not meant to rule reality, it is meant to translate it. The portal was never meant to be a cage of logic. It was meant to be a breathing passageway between the known and the eternal mystery. And until you let go of the need to hold, the portal cannot open. Part 4. The forgotten language of silence. There is a silence older than sound, a silence that isn't the absence of noise, but the presence of everything before it speaks. That silence is the natural state of the portal. When you stop forcing, stop naming, stop reaching, the portal begins to hum again, to vibrate with what has always been. But silence terrifies the surface self. Because in silence, the story begins to unravel. The narrator starts to disappear, and so the ego runs, filling every gap with distraction, opinion, and stimulation. You scroll, you talk, you watch, you plan. Anything to avoid falling through that silent space, because deep down, you sense that if you fall far enough, you might lose everything you think you are. And that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Silence isn't death, it's re-entry. It's the point where the portal turns inward, where awareness stops reflecting and starts remembering. When you dwell in silence long enough, something extraordinary begins to occur. The mind stops acting as a wall and starts acting as a window. You begin to sense the vast field beyond identity, not as an idea, but as direct experience. That's when you begin to feel it, the current, the breath behind breath, the intelligence that moves all things. You realize it's been speaking to you all along, not in words, but in patterns, intuition, synchronicity. You've just been too loud to hear it. Silence is the language of the portal. And when you speak it, reality starts answering back. Part 5. The Inner Universe. Close your eyes. Everything you've ever seen, every person, every sky, every mountain, all of it is still here, inside the field of your awareness. You are carrying entire worlds within you. Look inward long enough, and the inside begins to look like the outside. Galaxies swirl behind your eyelids. Nebulae of thought and memory drift across your mental space. Every idea is a star, every emotion a gravitational pull. Your mind is a universe layered within the larger one, and both obey the same laws. What you focus on expands, what you resist collapses. Every observation changes the observed. You are not in the universe, you are of it, a recursive creation looking at itself through 1,000 eyes. The ancients called this correspondence. As above, so below. The modern world forgot. But the principle remains unchanged. The outer world is the dream your inner world is projecting. When your inner portal is clouded by fear, you see chaos. When it is aligned with love, you see harmony. The universe rearranges itself to mirror the clarity or confusion of its observer. This is not magic, it's physics of the unseen. The portal doesn't just perceive reality, it participates in it. Every thought is a signature, every belief a vibration, every choice a ripple across the fabric of the real. To master the portal is not to escape reality, but to awaken as its co-creator. To realize that consciousness doesn't enter the world, it invents it, moment by moment. The mind isn't inside time, time is inside the mind. Part 6 of the reversal. There comes a moment when everything reverses, when you realize that the portal was never closed, never broken. It was always functioning perfectly. You were just facing the wrong way. All your searching, your striving, your meditation, your prayers were the mind reaching outward, trying to grasp what could only be remembered. You were like a light bulb searching for electricity, unaware that it has always been powered from within. The reversal happens the moment you stop searching, when you realize that every thought of "I must awaken" is still the portal facing outward. Awakening isn't a journey towards something. It's the collapse of the illusion that there was ever anywhere to go. The portal turns inward and awareness floods itself. You stop being the seeker and become the space in which seeking occurs. The watcher becomes the watched, and everything merges into a single, radiant presence. In that moment, the portal and what it opens to become one. There is no longer mind and reality, self and universe. There is only awareness, moving through itself, dreaming itself, knowing itself. This is the true function of the portal, to dissolve the boundary between observer and observed, to reveal that all separation was a mirror game, that the divine was never somewhere else. It was always the silent background of every thought, every breath, every tear. Part 7. The awakening of the portal. Now that you know, the game changes. You no longer use the mind to escape, to control, to define. You use it to explore, to translate, to celebrate. You realize the portal isn't meant to be empty, it's meant to flow. Awareness moves through it like wind through an open door, carrying experience, imagination, and love between worlds. You become a conscious traveler, moving freely between silence and sound, form and formlessness, human and divine. You begin to see that every interaction, every moment of beauty or pain is an invitation, the portal testing its own edges. You learn to listen without grasping, to think without clinging, to feel without drowning. And slowly, thought becomes art again. Emotion becomes music. Life becomes a conversation between you and the infinite. The awakened portal doesn't reject the world, it completes it. It turns everyday existence into ceremony. Every breath a prayer, every silence a cathedral, every human encounter a mirror of eternity. You no longer ask for proof, because you are the proof, the evidence that the infinite dreamed itself awake and called it you. Now you understand, the portal was never a thing to open, but a truth to remember. It was always you, the silent witness behind your thoughts, the vastness within your chest, the quiet awe that has followed you since childhood. The mind was never broken. It was just misdirected, trained to look outward when its true purpose was inward revelation. You don't have to transcend the human experience. You just have to live it from both sides of the portal. As the dreamer and the dream. One day, even words will fall away. The portal will hum quietly, effortlessly, perfectly. Awareness breathing itself in and out. And you will stand at the center of everything, not as a thinker, but as the silence that thinks all things. Because the truth was never outside. The doorway was never elsewhere. Your mind has been a portal this whole time. You were simply facing the wrong way.